willnisley.com. Will Nisley.
Fridays are awesome. Why? Because Super Bowl and Puppy Bowl. Those reports are minutes away on CNN 10. First though, tensions between the U.S. and the Middle Eastern nation of Iran. Earlier this week, Iran tested out a medium-range missile. A U.S. defense official said the test failed and that there was no threat to America or its allies in the Middle East. But do Iran's missile tests break international law? A UN Security Council resolution passed in 2015 tells Iran not to have anything to do with missiles that can carry nuclear weapons. Iran has tested several missiles since then, but it says the resolution does not apply because its missile program is only for defensive purposes. The U.S. doesn't agree. On Wednesday, America's national security advisor called Iran's recent test a provocative breach of the resolution and said the U.S. was putting Iran on notice. Iran responded that it would vigorously continue its missile activity and that it didn't need permission to do it. Trump administration officials say they're planning to impose additional sanctions, penalties on certain people or businesses affiliated with Iran. 10-second trivia. What location was struck in 1960 by the most powerful earthquake ever recorded? Chile, San Francisco, Alaska, or China? On May 22, 1960, a magnitude 9.5 earthquake struck near the South American nation of Chile. The 1960 Chilean earthquake wasn't the most deadly ever recorded, but its effects spread far and wide. In addition to the hundreds killed in Chile, the tsunami generated by the quake killed dozens in Hawaii and as far away as Japan. It also left millions homeless. Looking at more recent seismic activity, here's a map of every quake on record from 2001 through 2015. You can see a lot of them flashing all around or near the Pacific Ring of Fire. Some devastating quakes occurred during this time period. One example, the 9.1 magnitude tremor that shook Sumatra, Indonesia in 2004. More than 220,000 died in that and the tsunami that followed. And the 8.1 magnitude quake that hit Samoa in 2009. Also, an 8.8 magnitude quake in Chile in 2010 and a 9.1 jolt near Japan in 2011. That quake and tsunami killed more than 22,000.
Number 1. An earthquake occurs when two blocks of the earth slip past each other. Now, for most of the time, those blocks are together with friction, but they are building up energy because they are moving in different directions. When one block decides to slip, all of a sudden that energy is released by seismic waves, kind of like ripples on a pond, creating the earthquake. Number 2. An earthquake can occur very near the surface of the earth. Those earthquakes are typically very destructive, or as deep as 400 miles down into the crust. Now, where the shaking actually happens, that's called the hypocenter, but directly above it on the surface, that's called the epicenter. Number 3. The power of an earthquake is called magnitude. Now, the intensity of the shaking can vary depending on the geography, the topography, or even the depth of the quake. Now, the USGS says there are 500,000 detectable quakes every year. 100,000 can be felt, and 100 will create damage. Number 4. Earthquakes themselves actually don't kill that many people. It's the natural and man-made structures that fall to the ground during the shaking that injure and kill. Number 5. The majority of all earthquakes and volcanoes happen along plate boundaries. The largest is the Pacific Plate and its series of boundaries all along the Pacific Ocean, known as the Ring of Fire.
Okay, big game this weekend in the U.S. Pro football is the most popular sport in the country, and its championship game, the Super Bowl, kicks off at 6:30 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. Why this gets so much attention? For one thing, it's routinely viewed by more than 1/3 of the entire country. Nielsen ratings indicated last year's game averaged almost 112 million viewers. That only counts people who watched in a home, not restaurants. Advertisers paid $5 million for each 30-second spot, and this was for a game that came in at number 3 in terms of viewership. The all-time TV record was set in 2015 when Super Bowl 49 got more than 114 million viewers. Will this year's Super Bowl 51 break that record? We'll know after the Atlanta Falcons play the New England Patriots in Houston, Texas. And while all the players in this game are men, that's not the case across the sport.
I'll get shouts like, "Number 2, you look like a girl." And it's like, well, I am a girl.
If you take your helmet off around somebody who is not expecting it, you can kind of see them squint.
Their reaction's like, wow, that was football. What do you think I'm doing 3 days a week? My entire life. Powder puff? You think we're just prancing around? I think they picture like lingerie or whatever. I was a catcher at Maryland, and then I had a teammate who said, you know what, you'd probably be a good quarterback. And I kind of laughed at it, and the league started, and honestly, I didn't take it seriously. And I went out to a game and realized I was missing out, and that's all she wrote. Here I am.
I had moved over to England for this job with horses, and I'd seen an ad on Facebook and thought I needed to do it. I could get a bit of American culture in, make friends that way. I haven't looked back since, and that was 4 years ago now.
Some girls that I played basketball against in college, I saw it being posted on their Facebook and said, wow, that's really cool. When I'm done with college sports, maybe I'll give it a shot.
Each player has to pay about $500 to $1,000 a season. That doesn't mean you can't go out and get sponsorships, ticket sales, help, things like that. Fields alone, these days it's $200 an hour. We all are personally insured, so you have to have insurance to play in this league for obvious reasons. So it's an expensive sport.
Every year is close to $1,000 just for fees. You're not counting equipment, you're not counting accessories, medical bills, anything like that, so it's upwards tens of thousands of dollars. I'm an athletic trainer.
I'm a homicide detective for the Prince George's County Police Department in Maryland.
So I'm a personal trainer.
It's 3 times, a week for 8 months.
I play Saturdays, I coach Sundays, I've got Thursdays, and then you get your international games, and I actually play on a men's team as well. I play middle linebacker, and I'm actually quite small for that role, but I'm very effective at what I do, and I want to be looked at as an athlete, just like the other girls here.
The chance to play football, now that I have it, is almost everything. It's changed my life in more ways than you can imagine, in the people that you meet, in the avenues that it's opened up for me, the places that it's taken me. I ended up in Pittsburgh, moving out of New York City because of the Pittsburgh passion. So it's like at some point you have to consider those decisions were made because of football.
When I first started playing, we would literally find a patch of grass. We would use our headlights for practice. Hopefully, 10 years from now, this is, just this standard, and the mindset's changed. The best comment I've ever had was that I would never know you're a woman until you took your helmet off, which means tells me we're playing the sport right. We're doing it right, and we're building it.
1, 2, 3, women's football!
So men, women, and some children play football. Who says it should be limited to humans? For the 13th year, puppies will be taking the field for the annual Puppy Bowl. It's more a competition of cuteness. The game, which airs at 3 p.m. on Super Bowl Sunday, helps some of these pups get adopted. They come from shelters across the country. They're all between about 12 and 20 weeks old. They're a mix of breeds, including mixed breeds. And the ref says he's been bitten, chewed, scratched, and needs to avoid stepping on tails. So there are a couple of things to watch out for. The players are all scrappy, and though victory is pup for grabs, it's still a sport with bite, though its bark is probably worse. At least the winning treats could make for a Super Bowl. I'm Carl Azus, dogging you with puns for CNN 10.
Hey guys, if you want to get active on my channel, if you want to get that latest stuff, if you want to get the latest blog posts, then click or tap the subscribe button right up here. You can also check out my website with the latest posts right down here. And you can view a random video for yourself right over here. Also, I encourage you guys to check out the description down below.